In this video, we'll discuss how you can configure the Status Enterprise Web Gateway. This video will cover all of the settings you can change in the gateway. The gateway is a tool we've designed to make deploying the mimics you've created on the web an easy process. All of the mimics you create will be automatically converted into an HTML5 format. Your mimics can then be viewed in any modern web browser like Google Chrome, Mozilla's Firefox, and newer versions of Internet Explorer. They can also be viewed on mobile devices like the iPhone, the iPad, or the Samsung Nexus. Before we begin, let's go over the prerequisites. The gateway requires both the .NET 4 standalone installation and IIS 6 or higher. For more information about installing IIS, please refer to the Status Enterprise Documentation, Section 8. This can be found in C:/program data /B-Scada /Status Enterprise or on our website at www.scada.com/software/Status Enterprise Edition under the Resources section. You can also learn more about IIS by visiting the official Microsoft site at www.iis.net. Now let's take a quick look at how the gateway displays mimics. I'm going to open my browser, then I'll enter the URL http localhost/Status Enterprise Gateway. Next, I'll log in using the default credentials of administrator and no password. Now that we've logged in, you'll see I've been placed in a list where all of my mimics reside. I'm going to select the Wind Turbine General Overview, then click on it and wait for it to load. We're now looking at our mimic in the gateway. This will receive data updates, allow us to navigate, and more. Now that we've seen how the gateway displays mimics, let's take a look at how you can customize your configuration. The gateway has some settings you can change to alter how it behaves, such as saving a username and password for automatic logins, automatically loading a specific mimic, and then setting the timeouts for various operations. To do this, we're going to open the IIS Manager. Next, we're going to find the Status Enterprise Gateway application. By default, this will be installed under the default website. I'm going to click on it in the list, and then open the Application Settings option in the ASP.NET section to the right. Here, you'll be able to see all of the options you can change in your gateway. At this time, I'd like to point out that all number-based settings are in a millisecond format. You'll need to keep this in mind when changing these settings. Now let's look at each setting in detail. The first setting we'll look at is called Auto Login. This setting tells the gateway whether it should attempt to automatically log in or not when the URL for it is visited. The next option in the list is called Default Mimic Path. When set, the gateway will display the mimic you specified as the first thing you see when you log in. It's useful for scenarios where you want to display a specific mimic after logging in. While we're looking at this setting, I'll demonstrate how to set this property correctly. The actual path to your mimics will depend on where you've saved them in your data model. For my demo model, I have a root view called Mimics, and I want to display the Wind Turbine General Overview, so I'll enter mimics/Wind Turbine General Overview, then click OK. Next, I'll close my gateway, then launch my browser and reopen the gateway. I'll then log in with my default credentials of administrator and no password. And now you'll see that instead of getting a list to browse through, I've been sent directly to the mimic that I set in this default mimic path. Now I'll close this browser so we can go back to our list. The next option in the list is to keep a live interval. This setting controls how often the gateway should contact the enterprise server to see if it responds. Moving on, the next option is the login page. Sometimes you may want to create your own login page to handle things like authenticating users or add other custom functionality. To do this, you'll need to set the login page name here. The operation timeout sets the time period in which operations should wait before abandoning their requests. For example, if you're deploying a model over the internet, you may find that you'll need to increase this value. The next options I'm going to discuss are the username and the password. These are the credentials that the gateway will use when auto login is enabled. To demonstrate this, I'm going to edit the auto login option and set the value to yes. This will tell the gateway that I want it to try to automatically log in. Next, I'll edit the username option and set administrator as the value. Now, I'll open my web browser and enter the gateway URL. So as you can see, instead of being prompted with a login, I've completely bypassed the login screen and I've been sent to the default mimic that I set earlier. Now let's take a look at the session timeout. The session timeout controls how long to keep a user logged in before asking for credentials again. By default, the value is 10 minutes, but can be adjusted as you see fit. The last option I'm going to discuss is the Status Enterprise Server option. This setting tells the gateway where it should look for the Status Enterprise Server. By default, the Enterprise Server and the gateway are installed on the same machine, but it is possible to run either the gateway or the Enterprise Server from different locations. To do this, you'll need to update the connection string to point to the correct domain, IP address, or machine name. Now that we've covered the application settings, let's talk about the firewall requirements. The gateway does require that you add exceptions for both incoming and outgoing connections, so you'll need to make sure you add these exceptions. I won't go into detail on this aspect as the actual process can vary drastically depending on a number of factors, like the type of firewall you're using or the network security policies you have in place. But as long as you've accounted for these exceptions, you shouldn't have any problems. In closing, Status Enterprise is a powerful, easy-to-use tool that lets you design once and deploy multiple times. For more information about Status Enterprise and the web gateway, please visit us on the web at www.B-Scada.com.